Well, the building is special because it's the last one left. You know, it's the Boston Garden, which I never played in the Forum. And then there's this building, and you know, this is the last one that holds all the memories and all the great players, and coming up the elevator shaft and thinking about Willis Reed, thinking about Jerry West and all the great rivalries that they had in this building. And just makes it very special.
I'll go right.
So when it comes to Mikal Bridges, the talks around his shooting is a bit overblown. I said this in one of my group chats. We care about the team so much, it's almost like a newborn baby trying to walk. Of course, it's going to fall, but we just care so much, but it's part of the progress. But as the Knicks work through their progressions, we've seen small tweaks here and there. Mikal was actually allowed to get back in his mid-range game, very similar to what he did when he arrived in Brooklyn and before when he's in Phoenix. He's not afraid to attack closeouts, and he could hit teams off with floaters in the paint, fadeaways, step backs, off the dribble moves leading up to a pull-up. And the Knicks allow him to get into rhythm without trying to keep up with the trends of just being caught up in the copycat part of the league where teams try to compete and get the most three-point shot attempts that they can. So Mikal in the first half didn't even attempt a three-point shot, and that mid-range game allowed him to get into rhythm. So going up against the Pacers, I like how Tibbs kind of mixed and matched the bench units. This time he went with OG and Mikal instead of Mikal and Towns with Mcbride and Cameron Payne and Sims. And for this very matchup, it allowed Bridges to kind of get into his bag. And just like as he did in Brooklyn, he can get to that mid-range game. Again, right here, Tibbs mixed and matches the bench units. Now we see instead of OG in the lineup, we get the remaining starters, Josh Hart and Mikal, alongside Miles, Sims, and Cameron Payne. So Tibbs kind of mixed and matched this a little bit. And right here, this play seems so simple. A dribble handoff. But because Josh Hart on ball is still a threat, the defender's going to have a slight hesitation in case he fakes this and he goes downhill. These are sometimes the overlooked things about Josh Hart. He's not necessarily a crazy offensive threat, but him having the ball and just putting pressure on the defense, trying to protect the rim, that is a threat. So right here, it's going to be a slight hesitation from Obi in case this was faked. And in that slight hesitation, it's going to allow Mikal to attack Obi, the weaker defender, on the empty side. Working our way into the third quarter, Bridges gets to his spot. Nice little fadeaway on Tyrese, the weaker defender once again. Bridges at this point has not attempted a three-point shot, but he's definitely in rhythm. Now right here, Bridges squaring up for the post-up. Notice how Josh Hart now is making his run, clearing out the defender. And Brunson, the three-point threat, is making his way. And now Bridges can just do his thing. So he draws the foul. So right here, we're seeing Tibbs leave some room for Mikal Bridges with the offensive playbook. Instead of the usual, just go to the corner and wait till you get the ball to shoot a three. It's not like he's playing alongside LeBron James or Luka Doncic. That's kind of the trap that teams throughout the league fall for, where they get into that rabbit hole of just saying, hey, we have to get more three-point shot attempts up. They kind of pigeonhole some of their more talented role players into just standing in the corner, waiting and guessing when they're going to get a pass in order to shoot a three. Just giving Bridges the breathing space now to get in rhythm allows for the three-point shot to come much easier. And he got to it, especially when we seen the bop that he had on that dribble move into a three-point shot, talking shit to the Pacers bench. We see you, Bridges. We got you. But Bridges was definitely more aggressive, as right here, he just takes it in right away. I would say in the first game, and it's going to be like this in the first kind of quarter of the season, where guys don't want to step on each other's toes. As some of you fellas might remember, I kind of mentioned this before when the Knicks had went up against the Grizzlies when Brunson had first arrived. You could tell RJ being that third overall pick by the franchise, mixed in with Julius Randle, kind of being the scoring leader after that most improved season that he had, along with Brunson being the new star being there. Guys didn't want to step on each other's toes, so that game looked kind of clunky. And even in the beginning of this first quarter, guys were kind of passive. But eventually, who's supposed to be doing what, it's all gonna kind of fall into place organically. But Bridges right here attacks right away. Leads into a nice fadeaway. Another dynamic with Bridges this season everyone should be paying close attention to is the pick and roll game with Karl Anthony Towns. It's going to open things up for that bench unit when them two are out there. And also when Brunson checks right back into the game, he can get into that catch and shoot role in which he displayed in at when he was with the Dallas Mavericks. Luka and KP, the pick and roll between them opened up a lot of opportunities for Brunson to get into that catch and shoot, and he can do that. That is part of his, I would say, arsenal of just having so many moves. We haven't seen too much of that in New York because the Knicks didn't really have the shooting personnel on the floor. But now that we're so spaced out and we play with much more pace, this is going to be very interesting to see how Brunson kind of open up a can of worms on these opponents. Just so many ways he can kill you. Here's a prime example of the Karl Anthony Towns and Bridges pick and roll with Brunson on the floor. TJ McConnell is compromised right here. Can't quite stunt in. And Bridges, he can attack. OG, in a way, he should have stayed in the corner, but a lot of different things can happen here. But Brunson, if he was parked out right here, this defender is completely compromised because there is a three-point threat. Here's some more example of the pick and roll with Towns. Now right here, notice how Turner almost hedges. He's like way up on this screen. Towns, in a way, he should have ghosted this. That's where we're really going to miss Hartenstein. Hartenstein would have ghosted it. Then Bridges would have gave it to him. And he's good at making decisions right here out of the high post on who to hit. If there's a cutter, you know, Brunson, OG in the corners. But Towns, this season, we're going to see, you know, how he makes the adjustments, how to read these picks, knowing when to ghost it. Because even though he is a center, throughout his career, this guy has really played a lot of minutes at power forward. I believe it's been like 2-3 years plus since he's actually played a lot of minutes at center. See, no real advantage coming off the pick because, in a way, Towns should have ghosted it. But it's early. Again, we're looking at the chemistry between Town and Bridges with the starting unit being out there. Got everybody kind of clunked up on the other side. And these two right here, if they get their chemistry right on the pick and roll, whether it be that or it could be a dribble handoff, like a fake dribble handoff here, they can just kind of get this right. Towns knowing when to pop out, when to roll. Mikal knowing when to cut, because in a way, Towns, the chemistry he has to develop with Bridges, being a guy who can run pick and roll, is going to be way different than the chemistry between him and Brunson running pick and roll. Again, this play right here is not bad, but they're going to get this down packed. But there is so much potential between these two getting it right, just opening things up for OG, Brunson, and Josh Hart. Here's another example of it in the second preseason game. Off this pick right here, see Kuzma trailing. Now, Jordan Poole right here, he's compromised. Got the corner shooters, but Jordan Poole can't necessarily stunt in too much. And Towns is rolling, but he could also pop out. He could have camped out right here. But either way, you see Jordan Poole, any defender in his spot with Brunson right here is compromised. Because Brunson has this in his bag to just catch and shoot. And also, with Bridges going downhill, he gets into his mid-range bag anywhere from here. So on this play right here, pay attention to Karl Anthony Towns. This is another prime example of their chemistry not yet on point. Cameron Payne is in this corner right here. So it would make sense for Towns to set a screen right here so he can come down on the right side. But because Towns kind of switches and then he gets pickpocketed. So regardless, even if he drove, the screen would have been ineffective because Towns setting it on the wrong side. It's not like he rejects the screen or anything. There's less benefits going to this side because the defender's already in drop back coverage. You got OG not necessarily in his spot. The benefit would have been on this side to go downhill, compromise this defender here, whether to stunt in, clog up Mikal's driving lanes and then leave Cameron Payne open. But it's a work in progress. Let's take a look at it again. Look how Towns comes in. Mikal's probably just looking at Towns the whole time, kind of a little distracted. Because it's a weird way he tries to set the screen. And also, Mikal could have compromised TJ McConnell by attacking the rim, him being the low man and a smaller defender.